I love making fruit preserves, and I always have raspberry jelly on hand. The reason I like it is because I use it in my desserts. In this case, I'm glazing a fluffy cheesecake. This fluffy cheesecake is very popular. It's a Japanese style, and I actually start off by melting my ingredients, including 8 ounces of cream cheese. I add to that a 1/4 cup of butter, a 1/3 of a cup of milk, and a tablespoon of vanilla bean paste. I'll heat this on medium, and I want to make this nice and smooth. This is the base for the cheesecake. There we go. I'll just take this off the heat, set that aside, and I'm going to sift together a 1/2 cup of cake and pastry flour and a 1/4 cup of sugar into a large mixing bowl. And lastly, 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. Give that a quick little sift. And I add to this my warm cream cheese mixture. I love seeing that speckle of vanilla bean throughout. Part of what makes this cheesecake fluffy is eggs. You need 6 eggs in total, and I've separated them. So I have my whites ready in the mixer, and I've saved the yolks that I'll add to my cream cheese base. And I do like to add a little lemon zest to the recipe. Now the last component is the whipped egg whites. While I'm whipping them on high speed to just under a soft peak, I'll add 1/2 cup of sugar gradually. There we go. So not runny, but softer than a soft peak. I'll first add about a 1/3 of these whites, just to lighten up the cheesecake base, and I'll use my whisk to work them in. And I can add these all at once, now that the base has been lightened. It's better to work a little faster and slightly more vigorously because ultimately time is the enemy. Once you start folding in your whites, you pretty much want to get that cake to the oven. Typical to most cheesecakes, I use a springform pan. I've greased the bottom and sides and lined both with parchment paper. But what I've picked up, and this is a great tip I got from my friend Lisa, wrap your pan in tin foil and curl the foil over the parchment paper. That way it keeps the paper and your cheesecake right to the edges of the pan. And because this recipe calls for so many eggs, you need to cook it in a water bath. This creates a gentle cooking environment. I have some boiling water that I'll pour around the outside of the pan about halfway up. There we go. I'm all set for the oven, which I've preheated to 300. A gentle cooking for this cheesecake. And I'll let that cook for an hour. My cheesecake's been in the oven for an hour, so to check its doneness, I give it just a gentle shake. When it no longer jiggles on the surface, I know it's done. So I want to leave it for another hour, turning the oven off. But before I can serve this cheesecake, I need to make my raspberry jelly. I've got 6 cups of raspberries, and I puree it. I put it on a cheesecloth, and I let it sit overnight. And what I have here is 2 cups of beautiful, pure, clear raspberry juice. And that's what makes the base for this jelly. I'll pour this into my pot. So I'm going to bring this up to a simmer and add 3½ cups of sugar. Sugar adds so much more than sweetness to a jelly recipe. It's an important ingredient to work with the pectin to get the jelly to set. Because this has come to a full simmer, I'm going to add my pectin, 85 ml. Just like with your strawberry jam, if you get any foam, you can pull it off the surface. And I find when I'm making a jelly, it starts setting up very quickly. So as soon as you take it off the heat, you want to get it into your jars. I'm not going to jar all of my jelly. I'm actually going to hold some back because that's what I'm going to use to glaze my cheesecake. Here it is, so fluffy and light. I've got a few cups of fresh raspberries, and I'm just going to put these on top of the cheesecake. The idea is I use the glaze to add shine to the raspberries, and it also works to seal in the fruit so it stays fresh. Grab my pastry brush, brush away. There we go.
Thanks for watching Oh Yum. Keep an eye on this channel for plenty of delicious recipes and more.